Okay, I wanted to show people how to build a Beck electrifier. That there is your parts list. I've basically built it all in bit by bit. Okay, what you'll need is all of these parts. Zoom it out a little bit so we can explain it all in detail how this works. Okay, what you'll need is all of the parts that you've just seen. Put all this to the side for a minute. And we'll get started on it. What you'll need is a board. I've got a was so big I've cut lines down it, cut them across. So you basically make them like this, and they're basically 10 across by 14 high. Okay, then what you want to do is you want to basically cut out the copper that's in there on 4 tracks. I've missed 2 lines and gone up, I think it's 7. So on the 7th one you cut out a little square like that. Then basically what we want to do is put a chip in there. So it's basically like that, so the pins are either side of the chip. Here's one soldered in. Okay, that's all soldered in, so basically these pins aren't going to touch each other. Okay, now basically the easiest way to draw a diagram for it is we've got that little chip. Okay, the track furthest on this side we'll call our positive. The track furthest on this side we'll call our negative. We've gone up say here, we've cut out a piece on 4 tracks, so this pin, this pin, this pin and this pin. They all have numbers. This one here, there will be a little dot in the corner. That one there is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7 and number 8. Okay, and they're joined to the track that runs down here. So this line here will be number 1, this one here number 2, number 3, number 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to grab our 2.4 meg ohm resistor. Okay, and what we want to do is basically put it in there like this from number 1 track. Okay, so we'll go from number 1 track to number 2 track. There will be the 2.4 ohm resistor. Okay, and then you solder it in there like that, so it's in number 1 track, to number 2 track like that. Solder it in. With the pins on the bottom, what you want to do is cut the pins off after you've soldered it in there, because you'll need these pins. And what you want to do is connect pin number 8, which is this one here, to this one here. So it basically looks like this. So you have a pin from there to number 8 and a pin from number 4 to the track on the furthest side. So number 8 to the positive, so it basically has number 8 to the positive and number 4 to the negative, like that. Once you've done that, then we move on to the next step, which is the 150k resistor, which is from number 1 to number 3, which is the 150k, which is basically just what you want to do is keep the resistors on the same side, so the metal, so then that way when they touch each other the metals don't touch. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next step. What we want to do is get the two 100k resistors, because you'll need two of them, and it goes from pin number 3, one of them goes to the positive, so the resistor will be in the middle, which is the 100k. And then what you want to do is from number 3 again is the other 100 ohm resistor, 100k resistor, goes to the negative. So it basically looks like that. Okay, now on to the next step, is we want to get the capacitor like this and connect it from number 2 to the negative side, like that. So it basically comes out of the line of number 2 over to the negative side. Okay, now the next step. You want to get yourself one of the diodes. They have a little black line on them, and the diode basically is like that. They have a little black line on it, like that. That little black line, you want it on the closest side to pin number 7. So it's basically the black line is closest to pin number 7, and then what we do is we fold it over and put it in the track that is just away from the next track, away from the actual pin number 5 and pin number 4. So it'll be on the next track over that basically goes to. Then our next step is what we do is we get another diode, and it goes from that same track where we've put it in to the next track over. So then that way when it touches here, it doesn't connect with the same track as what we're on. So you just go that to the next track over, and you have the black line facing this end on the newest track that you have. So then that way the diode runs this way, the other diode runs that way. Okay, now on to the next step. What you want to do is get one of these wires. You want to leave about 2 inches. So you cut the wire, so that, like that. Fold it in half. So they're about 2 and a bit inches, nearly 3 inches each. Okay, strip the ends off. And then what you need to do is put a wire, oh, wrong one. Put a wire so it goes from track number 1 to track number 6, and from track number 3 to track number 5. So you'll basically have a wire that goes from number 1 to number 6 and number 3 to number 5. Basically like that. So you have 1 to 5, that 1 to 6 on the chip. That's basically how that will look. Then what you want to do is with the other wire that you cut, is cut that in half also. So you've got 2 pieces pretty much the same length. And what you want to do is put one wire coming out of number 7, like so. So basically where the diode is on number 7, you just want a wire that comes off of there. The other wire on the bottom, don't worry about the capacitor that's on there, that I'll show you about that in a second, comes off of number 1. So you just want to solder another wire that basically comes off of number 1. Okay. Now what we want to do is get this little LED. Okay. The LED basically, I didn't get a chance to make this part of the board, so what you basically want to do is go from where the diode comes in to the next track over. So basically it goes to the newer line, but not on the earth line. You don't want to in the earth line. Okay, and then solder that in there like that. Then what you do is you get the capacitor, this one here. Okay, you have the black stripe that goes into where the LED just joined up to, that newest track that you've just used, and that solders in there. Okay, now with this capacitor here, the other one that sticks out, what that does is connects to the wire from off of number 1. So it basically connects to the capacitor. Okay, and that there is, you've built basically the little machine, that how it works. The way to test it is to get a lead like this. I'll show you how to build this lead in a minute. Get these batteries on there. And the way to test it is you get your red wire, you put that on the positive side that you've built, and you get the black wire and put it on the negative side that you've built, and you should have the LED that flashes. Okay, and these two wires that you've got coming out will be going to the electrodes. Okay, alright, now how to build this wire that connects the batteries up. Okay, you get your three of these things. What you want to do, you've already cut one of them, which is about this long. So what you want to do is get the same on these, and what you want to do is cut one of the red wires like that, and cut one of the black wires around about the same length. Okay, so then you should have 3 of them like that. Basically like this here, so they're all stripped, the wires. Then what you want to do is connect them like this. So the black wire goes to the red wire, the black wire goes to the red wire like that. Okay. Solder them on. You want to put some tape over the connections. Then what we do is we get that red wire and we want to cut it with the snips. Okay, the red wire off of there, and we use that red wire, and in between we want to put a lamp, which is this light, so it'll be basically in between. I've got another one here which I'll show you. You want to solder it in like this, so it's basically on the red wire. Okay, and that's, you've built the little wire that I just built to connect the power. Okay, now for the box. Okay, you get your black box. Okay, and what we want to do is get a 7mm drill bit. Okay, on the left side of the box, because you'll need to drill one at the front as well, which is a 6mm drill bit. This is a 7mm drill bit. And you want to try and get it in the middle of this, or otherwise if you go too high, when you put this trimmer in here, what happens is the trimmer sticks out on the top, or it hits the bottom and you can't get the thing in there. So you want to try and get that in the middle, as well as in the box, because you've got them prongs on it. You want to make sure that you've got enough clearance from here to here, so when you put it in there, it doesn't hit that thing there. Okay. So that basically goes in the 7mm hole, and on this other hole what you need to do is actually get a file, because they've got these little grooves on here. It makes this plastic too thick to get this part in here, which is the little jack where one of these things plug in. That plugs into that thing there. But what you need to do is file it down, because if it's not filed down you can't put the actual whole thing. This here won't go right through to the other side. What you'll find is you won't be able to screw the little screw thing onto it because it hits the plastic. But if you fold it down enough, that'll stick through. You'll be able to screw that on there like that, and the trim pod goes into the side. So it's basically like this here. Okay, then what you'll need to do is I've cut this groove out here which fits my switch in there. And what you want to do is make sure you don't cut it out too big, or otherwise the switch won't fit and it will fall out. What you want to do is cut it a little bit too small and then get a file and just file it back until you can fit the actual switch in there like that. So then you've basically put the switch, the trim pod and the plug in there. The next thing is to get the 820 resistor, 820k ohm resistor. What you want to do is solder it onto the last lug on either of the end ones is basically what you want to solder it to. You would preferably be the bottom one, because when you put that down you need to solder it to the bottom pin on this one here. I've already soldered this one onto the trimmer, so you'll see where that's on. Then what you want to do is solder that one there onto the bottom one. So I'll basically go from the bottom of that trim pod to the bottom of this one. And don't tighten that nut up too tight, because you'll need to pull that up to solder another wire to the middle pin. Okay. Now to put the little box into the thing, the machine into the box, first of all you'll need to get your wire like this, the wire that you've built, and get the red wire and solder it into the positive track. Okay, so you virtually solder it into it like that. Then what you'll need to do is get the box that you want to solder it into. Okay, get the solder. This bit here I'll have to solder it in there and show you exactly how to solder it. What you want to do is pull this up so you can solder the wire to it. And what you want is the wire that comes off of number 7. Which I don't have, so I'll have to solder this one in here quickly. Okay, that's done. Okay, so the wire that we've got off number 7, that goes to the middle of this trim pod. Just like that. Oh. So that basically gets soldered to the middle of that trim pod like that. This other one, now you can actually turn that back down, so it's down like that. The other electrode goes to the top of the plug. Okay, that gets soldered onto that one there. Try to make as many bits as I can to make it as fast as I can to show you the demonstration. That one basically gets soldered to that one there, and it sticks. Okay, that one's in. I forgot to mention, you need to solder a little little wire from the negative side. So put a little wire into the negative side, so you've got a little wire hanging off it, basically like that, because what you'll need to do is solder that to the switch. That just solders to the switch, but you want to be careful when you solder to the switch because they do melt very quickly. And then the switch is no good. So you don't want to put too much heat into the switch. Okay, that's that done. Solder on the wire so it sticks better. That's that one. And then from the negative side on the other wire that you've got loose, that goes onto the other side of the switch. Just like that. There you've basically built the electrifier. So you can put the batteries to the machine. The machine is working. Okay, flick the switch on and off. Trim pod to turn it up and down. Okay, now you'll need two wires basically like that. And then the plug. Okay. So you basically want to put that through the plug like that. Have the wires stripped off, and then on this plug here it has one side where you solder one wire to, and then on the other side of you solder the other plug, so they'll both basically be soldered to the plug like that, basically like this one here that's already been soldered. Okay, and then that there pushes up and screws onto that. So then now that's the plug connected. Then what you want to do is get two stainless steel pieces of wire, preferably stainless steel electrodes from welding rods or something like that, and solder them onto the end of the wire. Cover them up with some tape or some shrink tape, and that's basically the electrodes that plugs into the machine, and they go basically to your arm, and you have the turning knob to turn it on and off. Basically that goes into the machine, and what you will need to do is drill a 5mm drill bit. They will fit in there like so. Packs all down. There's one thing I haven't done is drill the 5mm drill bit. Basically in the top of the piece of plastic that goes on there, and the screws go in there. You basically have your electrifier. Bit of elastic for the armbands, elastic for the electrodes, and your electrification. Good luck building one. Thanks.